All right, folks, this is Steve Grumbine. You know, tonight I looked through my news feed and I thought that I had seen something previously, and I just sort of said, I'm going to let it go. I'm going to let it go. I'm going to ignore it as if somehow or another it was just an apparition, that it wasn't real. But no, these motherfuckers, these Republicans, 5 of these sons of bitches, have decided that they want to take modern monetary theory and make it something that's banned. They want to put a they want to vote and they want to denounce modern monetary theory. They want to call it inflationary. They want to call it hyperinflationary. They want to say it's a lie. They want to say all these things. Now, folks, this is your Republican Party. But you know what makes it a triple whammy? What makes it so fucking disgusting? That lefties, and you know who the fuck you are, called it a cult. Now they realize that without MMT, there is no Green New Deal. Now that they understand what's at stake and they understand the pain and suffering that austerity has brought, you look back at these son of a bitches and you remember those people who called it a cult. You remember those people who sat there and gave air cover to the Republican Party, who are now sitting there denouncing the one path to get us a Green New Deal, to marshal the resources that we need to be able to survive climate change. Not just that, but to marshal the resources that we need for health care and free college for all. The people, these sick, twisted people that just despise anything outside their comfort zone, are doing everything in their power to make sure we don't survive. And you want to talk about fucking pissed off. Now the flip side is, you could look at the GOP and you could say, hey, these dumbasses are going to give us publicity because reflexively Democrats embrace anything the GOP says is bad. If the GOP hates it, they automatically love it. Well, if it were that simple, why the fuck didn't the GOP go ahead and do that a long time ago so we could have mass quantities of Democrats pushing for MMT? All I can say is I got a memory like an elephant, and I remember every one of these son of a bitches in the cool kids club that called it a cult. Every one of them. Every single fucking one of them I remember. And I remember every smart mouth comment they made. I remember every time they tried to shadow ban our work while we're trying to save lives. They're playing high school games. Losers. Worthless. You think that this is just some sort of theory. They have used austerity to kill us. They have used austerity as every excuse in the book for why every person that's starving and sitting there with a bloated stomach because they can't fucking eat. They've used austerity as the reason. They've used we can't afford it as the reason. They've used we can't afford it as the reason for not giving us health care. They've used we can't afford it for the reason that we don't have safe bridges, for the reason that our kids don't have good schools, for the reasons our children and our adults and those who are forced back into the workplace have to fucking carry trillions of dollars of student debt. telling you right now. I'm telling you right fucking now. Austerity is murder. And the only coherent economic discussion point that addresses this lethal idiocy is modern monetary theory. And I've had it up to my eyeballs with thick, dense, intelligent, retardant people that push anything away that might challenge their understanding. I'm not joking. I have said this forever. People are fucking dying. People will continue to die. You look at the UK, at the Grenfell Towers, and people died because of austerity, because of the fake-ass economic belief that we are broke and we gotta make tough choices. The same fucking morons believe that Social Security needs to be saved by privatizing it. The only people that don't have to worry about their basic income are the wealthy who have access and entree to purchasing zero-risk securities, treasuries. And they get richer and richer by the minute. But what about us? We the people. No, we've got dumbasses in our midst. Dumb fucking idiots that think somehow or another the government that creates its own money, that can come up with $750 billion without raising a single nickel in taxes for the military, is somehow or another too fucking broke to take care of its weakest and those who need help the most. There is no shot in hell. We talked about having 11 years. We talked about 12 before, but we're at 11 now. As the earth around us is burning up, as freaking ice caps are melting, the ice shelf is melting, freaking shit's going wrong, freaking prehistoric green shit coming out of the fucking ice. And you want to talk about denouncing MMT? You fucking worthless pieces of shit. Now, it's one thing to be a teabagger. It's another thing to be a jihadist. It's another thing to be so fucking stupid that you would denounce MMT like that because you don't understand it. I find people that don't understand things but yet have opinions about them to be utterly worthless. I only find value in those who seek to get answers. Those who jump to conclusions, I write them off. I have no love for people that do that shit. Too much is at stake for dummy people, for people that choose to be full metal stupid. These Republicans, they in and of themselves are doing what Republicans do. They do stupid fucking shit. But Paul Krugman has even come out and said stuff like, well, I'm no fan of MMT. But, my God, the Republicans are always rejecting theories and science, aren't they? With bullshit lies. How many people do you know have taken the time to crack the spine of a book and do the slightest bit of research? How many morons? And I mean, folks, we're talking about pond scum, fucking single cell morons that instead of reading about MMT, go straight to the articles to say, let us tell you what's wrong with MMT. And then they walk around like they think they know something. I mean, I'm telling you right now, it's bad. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a moment and I'm going to try my best to go through an article from John Harvey who masterfully rips these fucking Republicans apart. So here we've got a situation where Master John Harvey has taken the time to put forward a really, really great article. And I'll read it to you. He says, I can hardly believe that I am typing this. A resolution has been forwarded in the Senate to condemn an economic theory. Think about that for a minute. An economic theory. I mean, I want you to hear what I'm saying. This is like ridiculous. I mean, the Senate is going to vote to ban, to denounce an economic theory. And he says, I can hardly believe that I'm typing this. A resolution's been forwarded to the Senate to condemn an economic theory. Recognizing the duty of the Senate is to condemn modern monetary theory. And recognizing that the implementation, fucking stupid, MMT is a description of the system as it already is. You don't implement MMT. You implement a lobotomy for dumb people like this. People that have exhausted their usefulness to society. That's what you do. Recognizing the duty of the Senate to condemn modern monetary theory and recognizing that the implementation of modern monetary theory would lead to higher deficits and higher inflation. Folks, these people, single cell parasites. So John Harvey comes out and says, and this is where it gets a little bit funny. So I'm going to let John's words take over because I'm still pissed. And I don't know who I'm more pissed off at. The cool kids who called MMT a cult. And God, I want to just roll the names off. I just want to roll the names off of these people that did it. I'm not joking. But let's just stick with this. I guess on one hand, that we should be happy anyone is even aware of post-Keynesian economic theory. Scholars in this area have toiled largely in vain for going on a century, marking Keynes' general theory in 1936 as a starting point. So maybe there's no such thing as bad publicity. But to suggest that MMT is anything radical or dangerous, especially to the point of requiring an official Senate condemnation, is just plain bizarre. The resolution references the work of a number of mainstream economists in support of the condemnation, but I've already addressed that elsewhere. Instead, I'd like to suggest a few more candidates for inclusion in this new movement. Number one. Milton Friedman's monetarism. How about the school of thought that supported the policies that led to what is still the highest rate of unemployment, nearly 11%, since the Great Depression? The October 1979 monetarist experiment at the Fed caused officials to believe that it would be a good idea to raise the Fed funds rate, which is essentially the wholesale price of money that banks charge each other, to cover 17%. The prime interest rate that banks offered their very best customers was over 20%. And this is all based on a theory that completely misunderstands how the financial sector actually works. I have always found it kind of amusing that the Friedman's classic exposition of the theory, the one where the helicopter drops money out, he actually engages in fiscal and not monetary policy. The helicopter does not change the form in which the people hold their assets, monetary policy. It raises their income, fiscal policy. Number 2, trickle-down economics. Trickle is right. The idea that helping the rich helps the rest of us is just slightly off, but a little rewording fixes it. Helping the rich helps the rich. Trickle-down economics is based on the idea that the wealthy are somehow the engines of growth, that they invest and consume, and that helps everyone else. False. They save, which doesn't help anyone. Sure, they do some of that in the form of buying stocks and bonds, but none of that truly helps firms get the finances they need. Banks fulfill that role, and they don't need anyone's savings to do it. Furthermore, firms don't want to invest unless they think someone will buy what they're making. This is big. That's what the poor and middle class do. In 2012, for example, the top 20% of all income earners spent 60% of their income. The bottom 80 spent 90%. It's the latter who really drive the economy. And that's one of the reasons we are struggling now. Condemn it. Neoclassical macroeconomics. You know, all those economists cited Senate resolutions, they're neoclassicals. They assume that the economy automatically fixes itself, the invisible hand. And they believe that the financial sector is sufficiently unimportant to leave out of formal models. I feel like people must think that I'm lying when I say that because it seems so insane. But let me give you just a couple of examples. Christina Romer, former head of the Obama Council of Economic Advisors, writes in a piece on business cycles, the prevailing view among economists is that there is a level of economic activity often referred to as full employment, at which the economy theoretically could stay forever. In other words, the system is stable and automatically tends to create a job for every willing worker. Don't worry, be happy. Any problems we encounter are due to random shocks, more than that below. But even then, the economy acts like one of those inflatable punching bags with the weight on the bottom. It bounces right back. And there's another Nobel laureate from a paper after the financial crisis where they are trying to address the fact that their models typically omit the financial sector. Given both the prominence of debt and popular discussion of our current economic difficulties and the long tradition of invoking debt as a key factor in a major economic contractions, one might have expected debt to be at the heart of the most mainstream macroeconomic models, especially the analysis of monetary and fiscal policy. Perhaps somewhat surprisingly, however, it is quite common to abstract altogether from this feature of the economy. What a horrific but totally accurate confession. He and his co-author then go on to assume that banks loan out people's savings. Folks, banks don't. Loanable funds theory is dead. Dead. Doesn't exist. It's bullshit. God. And neoclassicism admits it, but post-Keynesians and MMT do not. How about we condemn theories that omit financial sectors? And then real business cycle theory. This popular neoclassical theory is so bad that even the recent neoclassical Nobel laureate condemned it and apparently received a lot of flack for doing so. Paul Romer, no relation to Christina, writes that real business cycle theory attributes fluctuations in aggregate variables to imaginary causal forces that are not influenced by the action that any person takes. Fuck, what? Fluctuations in aggregate variables to imaginary causal forces that are not influenced by the action of any person takes. I mean, what kind of word salad is that? In other words, recessions are caused by stuff. They're just caused by stuff. That's a fucking recession just caused by stuff. He calls this post-real economics because economists are past worrying about how the economy really works. And he goes back to Friedman to assign blame for how discipline justifies such an approach. See, positivism. I'm all for condemning this one too. Anyone else? If the Senate is going to get into the condemning economic theory business, I have some much better candidates for them. These have already caused real and serious damage. How about attacking them rather than theories aimed at increasing the welfare of the average American by employing models that reflect how the real world actually operates? Fucking bam. There you go. Bam. I mean, do you understand? You got Democrats over here lining up the Biden-Kamala Harris ticket. The austerity train's getting ready to run right up your ass. These people are dumb as fuck and they want to make the rich richer. They believe in markets. And damn it, if they're not going to smile and kiss you all the way, it's like, God damn, your hair smells terrific. I'm about to cut Social Security. Fuck yeah. I'm Joe Biden. I'm Joe. Oh, baby. I'm telling you right now, man, if you don't get with the fucking program, we're going to lose big. We're going to lose big. And there's no getting around it. That's the part that sucks. There's not a single program out there that is unreasonably able to be paid for because we can pay for anything that's available for sale in U.S. dollars. Do you understand what I'm saying? There's nothing to do with the Green New Deal that we can't afford with U.S. dollars. Every bit of it is available to us. And these stupid sons of bitches, the Republicans and the Democrats, just passed $750 billion in new spending for the military without raising taxes a fucking nickel. And there were idiots calling me a cult leader and cultists and all this other shit for telling you that federal taxes didn't fund fucking spending. But now what? Now what? Should be ashamed for being that dense, for being that stupid, for being that cool, for killing so many, because we're not going to have time. We're going to run out of time to take care of our people because of you. How's that for a blame salad? Hold the excuses. I've heard enough of them. Incompetence is not something to celebrate. Pride is something that should be slaughtered. And ignorance, unacceptable in the age of information. People like myself who have been fighting day in and day out, 24/7 for years, who have been trying to explain how important this is. And people who have said it much nicer and sweeter than me have said it too. Mind you, they tiptoed around the edges to make sure that you felt good about yourself during the process. But I'm here to tell you that if we die, what is the point in you feeling good about yourself? Why should you feel good about yourself? The only way to feel good about yourself is to truly do an about face and stop and fight like mad to fix this. Part of me is really grateful the Republicans are dumb enough to put this out there like that. What frightens me is that the Democrats are just Republicans with better bedside manners. This is serious. You can mock it, you can make fun of it, you can laugh at it because, God bless, if it isn't denying climate change, these fucking Republicans will not know what to do with themselves. They'll deny MMT as well because that's what worthless people do. But what's the excuse for the left? Do you want me to lump you in with the Republicans? What are you looking for? What kind of identity do you want from your denialism? from your kind of stupidity, the kind of stuff that keeps people dead, the kind of stuff that keeps the planet on a course for burning up. What do you want? What do you want your badge to say? You want a merit badge for idiocy? I thought MMT was a fucking cult, man. So I went around and told people it's a cult. I want a medal. I want a badge. I want a merit badge. So that I called it a cult. Fucking turd meisters. You know, I wouldn't care about some economic theory at all because I just don't care that much about that stuff. If it weren't for the fact that it's the key to survival. We don't have time for you to burn it down and institute some new thing called direct democracy. We don't have time for it. It's not going to happen. We don't have time for you to create 15 new third parties because we can't get the two up front to vote it in to make those other parties matter. We can't even get them to support ranked choice voting. So guess what? It ain't happening. And you could be pissed like I am right now. Or you can be real pissed like I am right now and take action. Each one teach one. It's time to turn this puppy around. This isn't a game. They are lining up King Austerity and Joe Biden right now. They're lining up Joe Biden, who was eager to privatize Social Security right now. Mr. Anita Hill right now. This is a man so creepy, so disgusting. And the Dems are sitting there circling the wagons to bring that SOB to the White House. It's a surefire way to make sure there's a second term for Trump. You can better believe it. But you want to talk about how bad it's going to get? Folks, this isn't a matter of, oh, it's so bad because of this party or that party. Folks, the clock didn't change. The climate clock didn't change. The climate clock did not change. Dead is dead. It doesn't matter what the D or the R is if they don't understand economics. And if they don't understand the vital nature of a Green New Deal, from the job guarantee all the way to getting off of fossil fuels and rebuilding our crumbling infrastructure, you name it. This is a wake-up call. Because I'm telling you right now, the more this gains traction, the more the vote blues circle the wagons, they will begin beating the anti-Trump gong that the drones will sit there. Must be Trump. Must be Trump. And they'll put any sack of dung in the White House as long as it has a D next to its name, and they'll try and tell you to shut up and eat your fucking peas. But no. Folks, I'm telling you right now, party allegiance, throw it out the window. It's just all about survival right now. And if Joe Biden isn't suddenly an MMT aficionado that is ready to swing for the fences and go for a Green New Deal, then Joe Biden is just every bit as much of a murderer as fucking Donald Trump. We got one shot in this world, folks, and that is to get this right. The clock isn't stopping for us to be indecisive. Remember that. Remember that. Oh, God, remember that. Have a good day, everybody. I'm out.